So welcome to the Prayer Shelter Live, and I've got a very special guest with me. I did warn him before we were going live that this is one of the most irritating people I know, in the nicest way, that this man can pick up an instrument, pretty much anything. He'd go, oh, what, this piece of music? And you'd just go, yes, because he just knew it. It's Phil Toms, a dear friend of mine. How you doing, Phil?
Hi, Joel. Hello. Yeah, good, thank you. Lovely to be on the show. Yeah, music, I can do that. I'll tick that box. No, I'm still studying. After all these years, I'm still learning. But no, I'm very grateful for the skills, but also the 46 years of practice I've been putting in, and I think something like 16,000 days I've been playing piano. Possibly non-stop. Feels like it. But
the fingers are battered.
Yeah. So
that's amazing, though. That is amazing.
We had some good musical times back in the day.
We did, and it's been an amazing journey up to this point. You know, you, as I say, we certainly kind of met through your gift of music and being in the band together, and you sort of teach me how to sing harmonies, which was torturous for you. But it was an amazing time, and it was a chance to, you know, have that friendship and get to know each other, and yeah, it's a long time ago now. You know, it's 20 years ago this year.
Yeah, if not more, 20, something like that. Music connects people, which is great, and also with my church hat on, I led worship at Colchester Baptist Church in the 90s, and then Plume Avenue, and then at St Anne's. Over in off Harwich Road, so you know, and various things in between as well, you know. But yes, but as you know, I'm always the one who thinks, oh, that hymn sounds like Avril Lavigne. Let's do it in the style of Skater Boy. Or back in the day of Fix You, when Fix You came out, was it Over the Mountains and the Seas? We didn't with the chorus and the verse of Fix You, but back to front. Yeah. But it really hit that, right, guys, because people goes, I do like worship music, because it's just music and I can sing to it, and it sounds like Coldplay or whatever, or it just sounds like a hymn, depending on what you want. But as I say, music is what I do. Mostly piano these days, a bit of double bass still, lots of synth and keyboards. But I'm also doing backing vocals with the George Harrison Project tribute band.
Yeah, I saw.
Keys and percussion at the same time, and then the Tubular Bells is still running after 10 years on tour with that. Wow. Originally Colchester musicians, but people across the whole country, and we're touring again next year. And that's playing big venues and keeping me busy when I'm not teaching or writing music for somebody or something else, you know.
So basically, you're busy all the time, is what you say.
People think I am. People say, "Oh, you're really busy. Look at your Facebook and your Instagram." It's like, well, that's just the musical bits. They're the adverts, basically. Yeah. But you know, I'm enjoying a bit of time off this summer, and just enjoying myself. You know, I have got some long-term compositions on the back burner, you know, just like a symphony in the background. But it's been about 4 years since I've done that. Had a look at that, so I need to get that back out. And but there's always so much to do.
So when did it all start for you? Because I never actually knew. We never had this conversation of when did you actually become Christian? When did you start having a faith?
I think, like many people of my generation, and I'm talking sort of in the early 50s now, I went to Sunday school at the local church in the village, and my parents did go to church as young, late teens, early 20s. They already said, right, off you go to church, and they went to church, because that's what the parents said. And so I was always around the church, and then when I was 5, I started piano lessons with the music teacher, who happened to be the organist, the legend that was Daphne Hillier, and that was taking place at either in the church or mostly in the vicarage on the vicar's piano in the study. And then later, you know, when I got more developed in the piano, I went round to Daphne's house to play the grand piano. So I was always in and around the church choir. In fact, I was there at a friend's mum's funeral last week with the choir and myself on piano, and it was just like old times, which is nice. So I was always brought out for the concerts rather than the services. So I sort of had kind of parallel life with the church, sort of up until I went to college, really, did my degree. And during that time, I was also in the Essex Youth Orchestra. And I think you know this, but when I went to Italy around 92, 94, around there, one of those tours, we went to Venice and we went to the beach resort Lido de Jesolo. And we were playing on the beach, so trigger warning, I was swept out to sea. And my friend, a violinist actually, and a second violinist, they both swam out to get me, basically. And that sort of gave me a bit of an epiphany, really thinking, perhaps it's time to rethink my life, you know. Not in a huge way, but it's like, okay, perhaps I've been given a second chance to just think about how I, portray myself. My cat is joining me for the live stream. Buttons, hello Buttons. He's thinking about being on camera, but so I thought of doing, church a bit more, not like directly at all, but a friend of mine, when I went back to college in my final year, uni in my final year, I said, "Oh, what are you doing on Sunday?" "Oh, I'm going to church." I was like, "Oh, okay. Do you want to come with me?" He's like, "Oh, all right then, yeah." And she said, "Don't tell them you're a musician, because they'll have you up the top playing piano before you know it." So
it's the same with anything as you go through church, isn't it? It's like, don't tell them you work with young people. Don't tell them you're a musician, because you're easily just off.
Yeah, so I literally didn't really say to anybody up the front that I was a musician, because I knew that I just wanted to learn. Here's the cat. Hello, cat. I just wanted to get to know about God and Scripture and see if that was something I was interested in. And then, if I remember rightly, I was baptised around 1995 on Easter Sunday, Colchester, Eld Lane, as it's known. And that was sort of the, through those sorts of sessions you have learning about God and thinking, do you want to go through with baptism and make a commitment? And that's actually when it happened for me, Easter Day 1995, it must have been. And then I went off to York for a year, did Masters in Music Technology, and then I was involved with sort of two contrasting churches, a community church, as well as St Michael the Belfry. Now, that's next to York Minster, and that is a very charismatic church. It was the time of the Toronto Blessing, which didn't quite work for me. I didn't quite understand it, or quite wasn't ready for it, or just wasn't that way inclined. But I was going next door, and the charismatic church, St Mike's. We always had fish or chips on the way back, walking back to the campus to York. It was a lovely time, and loads of friends. And you had us, university students, and the CU there. You had St John local college as well, and we had sort of a huge crowd of people and a great worship band, and which I never really got into because I wanted to step back a bit and just get my thinking hat on, and my praying hat on, as it were. So I was quite active in the church there at York, and then came back and went back to Eld Lane and then Plume Avenue in the 2000s. And then around that time, a good friend of mine, Simon Taylor, and his wife said, "There's this church by the Colchester Library, Holy Trinity Church. It's a closed museum. Do you want to get involved and turn it into an open, sort of like an oasis in the middle of the town?" So I said, of course, yeah, I'll be involved. I like to keep myself busy. So over several years, we actually found that venue. We were looking at other places, and we turned Holy Trinity into what was called CO1, as in the postcode. And then working with charity Go For with Pete Hope, we had I think ex-convicts and homeless people getting their foot on the ladder, getting into jobs, and just being respected so that they could actually contribute to society. And we had lots of people come to the cafe. We had lots of events for the community. We had some gigs there. And I was there. I mean, I was running Colchester Institute music department at the time. And then I was washing up on a Saturday and cleaning tables. And I thought, I'll just go and do this. And people said, "Oh, are you here to, wash the tables?" It's like, yeah, I have to be a trustee, but, we're all taking part, and there was a good team of people, and we were there for about 11 years effectively, and then it sort of changed hands and became a pop-up market. And I'm pleased to hear that the council, it shut down for a few years, but the council have now had several, I think, £1 million now from some trust to get it back up and running again.
Oh, wow, good.
with actual renovation. And English Heritage must be ticking the boxes because wiring needed doing, and the lighting needed doing, and the heating needed doing, and it needed painting with special paint. And it was just such a tall order to keep it running, even though it didn't cost us more than £1 a month rent, a peppercorn rent. Everything else was so financially draining, it was hard to keep it running. But what it did do was give me a focus. Now, it wasn't like one of those sorts of church cafes. Well, it was a church cafe, but it wasn't one of those things where you must learn about God if you come to this cafe.
Yeah.
It was just a place for people to go, safe place. And yes, we had, here's the cat. Yes, we had people coming in from different churches, but we just had people off the street enjoying themselves, having a nice, panini and a coffee and whatever. And it really served a purpose for about 10 years off and on. And I was really pleased to do that. I was longer involved in that than Harry Potter was in the cinema. So, yeah. And then, but that became, I wasn't going to church at the time, but because I was there all the time, that became my sort of commitment to doing something. And I think living by example or living by action is sort of where I am now. I'm teaching in various places at Rom Theatre Arts on a degree there. I'm working with the bands. I'm working with all manner of societies doing musicals and stuff. And I don't expect people to think, oh, Phil's a Christian, but I'd hope they say, oh, Phil's a good guy. Phil looks out for everybody else. He's someone to talk to or respect, or he's a good sort. And I think that's where I am sort of with my sort of faith, putting it into action. I'm not too busy to go to church. That's not the right sort of thing, but I'm so busy that I need some quiet time to myself sometimes to think, okay, let's just recap. How's the week gone? What do I need to think about? And what would God say to me privately? And what do I need to say to God? And I think that's where I am, where that's the behind the scenes Phil Toms that people don't see when they see the gigs and the shows and the adverts. It's what happens when you're in a quiet space and you think, okay, I need to reflect on what's been going on in my life. And we've, had a bit of a turmoil over the last couple of years with my dad's health declining, and sadly he passed away, as you know, in February. And getting through the grieving process and thinking about, faith and grieving and how that puts together. I'm still not 100% sure on that, because that's something I've not had to deal with in such a close way before. And that's always, that's something that I'm thinking of and on a daily basis. And just thinking of my dad and mum, looking after my mum, and my family is very close, thankfully. We're all in Essex, and I'm very grateful that we have got that. And of course, friends and in the various groups of people that I work with, they're all being very supportive. So, and the neighbours, I can't be more blessed than I am, I think. So, so that's been a hard, well, it's almost 6 months now, really, off and on. And I was in hospital myself with a dodgy leg. So at the same time, so it's like I'm trapped in a bed in a ward, and I can't go out and see my dad. And is everything collapsing around me, which is not a place I normally find myself, because I'm always my good friend Andrew Allen used to say, oh, you're a positive pragmatist and you're very good at spin, like marketing and everything, but sometimes you believe it too much. So so it's been a hard year to start with, but as I say, there are various support mechanisms, and I think for me, God is one of them, although I don't necessarily go to church every Sunday religiously, if you like the phrase, and profess that with other people around. So that's the private life of Phil Toms, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think, like you were saying, I think God's using you as an example to others. There are people that are doers, and there are people that are more sort of prayer based. There's people a lot more behind the scenes. There are a lot of people that like to pray from the sidelines and be there for others, be that protection over people, be that reassurance for others, where you're very much living it. God's kind of saying, look at how Phil is, look at how he acts. I always used to look at you as someone I could rely on, someone that I could always talk to. And I think that's something you've always sort of something that's oozed out of you for years and years. And I think that's just part of your character and how you've been put together, you know. And I think, as you say, that is part of who you are, you know. Like God says, it's great to say all these things, but to actually do them, to put it into practice, and people see the works that you're doing, like, you know, like going back to what you were saying with, you know, CO1, you know, it's cleaning the tables. You know, you might be a trustee, but it's by example. You know, it goes right back to when, you know, Jesus was with his disciples and he said, right, I'll wash your feet. And they said, no, you are who you say you are. Why would you? Yeah. And it's exactly the same. You know, it's being the example. And you've always done that, Phil. And I think, you know, that comes from your teaching as well, because obviously you've got your discipline through teaching, haven't you? And that style. But you've always been that approachable guy. And I think that's where God has just used you and really blessed you. And I know you're having a real difficult time at the moment. As you say, it's kind of that first rock the boat moment. And
after all these years.
And God always finds there's always a blessing there's always a bit of light in the darkness, you know, and you see it even like when you say, I now realize how close my family and friends are, how good my family and friends are. And that's the togetherness that comes through a loss or a difficult time. And I think, you're a real blessing, Phil. I think you always have been. And
well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to get recognition, even if I don't go out and seek it. You know, it's nice to say, oh yeah, Phil's been, you know, oh, that was a good show, or that was good. Oh, I love the gig, or that music was great, or I like what you did on somebody's album or something. And it's like, yeah,
but okay, you do it because you love it, Phil. You've always been like that.
Give back, but you know, there's also that place to give, you know, to pay it forward. I think, you know. So I think the three aspects when I do my sort of colour chart with my students or the teacher trainees, you have like the assertive, and you have the nurturing, and you have like the OCD details, and you're on between these three. And I'm usually nurturing and fairly assertive, and then in a stress mode, I go to very green, but with assertive, so data and assertiveness. But usually that blue and you know, looking after people, that side is still very prevalent. I'm just wearing blue here, but so that sort of nurturing side. I think a lot of the time that's why people become teachers, because they want to, you know, share what they've got and bring people up and teach them. And you know, for me, it's music and performing arts and media and
expression,
whatever. Caring. So thank you. It's that's one of the things that makes me tick. So
and now we were talking about OCD though, and this is something that I never figured out at the time until, not say I became more mature, because I don't think that's still happened yet. No, wait, don't shake your head. It was Phil had, right, this is to everyone at home, Phil had the most incredible DVD collection. Now, when I used to go up the stairs in Phil's old house when he lived, you know, around the corner from me, and he had this fabulous collection, but I never understood why he had about 8 copies of Back to the Future. Now, it was one of those where I kind of thought, I just don't understand it. And then I looked, and then I saw he had the regular version, the director's cut. Then it was like...
Well, they kept changing media, like Blu-rays. New documentaries. The reissued bit with
behind
new
documentaries. Behind the scenes.
How many years is it now? 40 years?
But I thought, I totally get it as I got older. It was looking at everything from a different point of view of what you like. And I think we learn that about our faith. As we get older, we kind of look at something, but as we get older, we've seen it from different points of view. And I think it just made me think, like when I go into the shops and I see different copies of something, I always think of you. I think, how many versions has Phil got? And you just, as I say, you're one of those guys, and I think that's how you've done so well in what you do as well. Because you know, as a musician and all the rest of it, John Anderson, that was superb for me, and I'll never forget that. But you know, the way you work, you look at things in a way from different angles, and you orchestrate something amazing. And I think that's how people see you. Is you are so clever with how you bring things together, and I just think that's your gift, and you've used it magnificently, to be perfectly honest, over the years.
Well, and hopefully still got a few years left in me. I'll carry on doing that. But yeah, I mean, I have got
to this point,
and it does help when I'm doing you know, listening to tracks and thinking, and somebody says, "Oh, I need like this week it was, I need some music for the last night at the Proms up in Norfolk." And if this was probably Tuesday or something, when do you need it? We're rehearsing it Sunday morning for a Sunday evening concert. Okay, fine. You know, and people know that I work quickly. And I was working with Steve Bingham, the violinist, on our YouTube tracks a few years ago, and he sent me an email saying, "Oh, that new Daft Punk Get Lucky, that's going to be a big hit. Should we do a video on that with violins, electric violins, and programming and loopy and a silly video?" And as his email across, my email went, "I've just done this arrangement of this new track by Daft Punk called Get Lucky." And literally they went ping, ping, and they arrived in our inboxes almost at the same time, because I was already in the same wavelength.
Mad, that is. That's mad.
Yeah, I tried to put my, let's call them talents and gifts, but also all the hard work. And you know, people say, "Oh, you know, you do all this," but it's like I have studied for years to learn how to play.
This is 40 years of graft.
That's right. Yeah. But as I say, I try and do good with it where I can. You know, spread a little happiness if you don't mind the cheesy phrases. But you know, working with people, thinking, "Oh wow, that makes a really good sound," or "I enjoy that," or that's. I mean, I've just done in this heat. I've just done the Christmas work for the primary schools for the county council, where I've done a Home Alone medley, which is going out to the Colchester and I think the Brentwood primary schools. They start learning it in September. Therefore, the teachers needed a heads up before we get there on what it's doing. So the music service got me to write the new medley for orchestra and kids, and that'll be on 1st and 2nd of December. So, you know, I think, all right, that's a really good project. It's going to get, you know, kids singing, kids and workshops with kids, you know, 200 kids playing ukulele and plastic flutes and plastic clarinets and plastic saxes and plastic trombone, all plastic these days. But, you know, it means such a lot to generate new musicians. And there's this one boy who just sounded like a seagull playing this plastic tube, and you can picture it. Like, but the look on his face was just sheer joy. Now, he could become a professional saxophone player, saxophonist in about 20, 30 years. You never know. But that one moment where he was just sheer enjoyment of blowing.
There's nothing better, is there?
Noise, and it's like, well, I think we've done a good job there. So you know, things like that, giving back to the kids, or letting adults enjoy George Harrison or Mike Oldfield or whatever it is, you know. And yes, part of that's business, and part of that's me income and me teaching and stuff. And the same with the degree, you know. It's important that we do what we do well, but it's also important that we do it the right way. And I'm striving to do that.
Yeah, and I think you always have. As I say, it's and yeah, I just think incredible guy, and it's a pleasure to have you on, Phil. And yeah, I just want to pray with you before you go. Is that all right?
Sure.
Because as I say, it's been a difficult time, but as I say, at the same time, blessing. You know, someone said to me once, "You're almost like a piece of pottery, Joel," and I didn't know how to take that. But someone said it's almost like there's almost like a hairline crack so that the light can get through. You know, you're not always just a dark, cold vase. You know, something always just manages to get through. A light gets in somehow. And yeah, that's how I took it anyway. But you just sat on the shelf. You're useless. But no, let's go for it. Father, we just want to thank you for Phil. We want to thank you for what he does. You know, the gift you've given him, the hard work he's put in, Lord, that you have blessed his dedication, his hard work, and that this can be used for others to have that feeling of joy, but also a start of a career, or almost just that fulfillment of just being in the moment of doing something that takes them away from however they're feeling. Lord, that you bless them in what they do. And Lord, that you just continue to be with Phil and his family, especially with his mum at this time. You just fill the family with love and support. Surround them with good people that I know Phil already has around him. But Lord, make him feel that all these years that he's put in, Lord, that you just continue to bless him, because you know, in the times where we really struggle, you just come up trumps every single time. You're there, you're at the forefront. Lord, I just pray that you show Phil that you are there and you're guiding him all the way. And whatever he has ahead of him, as I know what this man is like project-wise, Lord, that you bless him and you keep him strong throughout. Lord, make sure he rests as well, as that's just as important. So, Lord, we thank you for Phil and for what's to come in your almighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Phil. I haven't got an outro yet. That's not me dropping anything on you. So basically, I hit the end button and then I stand here in like a freeze frame until people think it's over.
I'll give you one plug. Sister Act, the musical at Manning Tree Manifest Theatre. It's interesting during a religious musical, and you know the film with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
This is the full musical with live band and a great cast, and tickets are on sale very soon. So Manifest Theatre. There we go. Sister Act. I thought it was fairly relevant. So
Phil was going to send me the link as well, and I'll put it in the description. So if you do want to order tickets, you can go through the link in the description as well. And also, as I say, that's going to be a cracker. If it's anything like the films were superb, weren't they? Let's be honest. Whoopi Goldberg was legend in it, absolute legendary. So yeah, stay in touch, Phil. Thank you very much, and God bless, my friend. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Phil.